Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Non-Scripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson, thank you so much for joining me, and this is it, we're here, it's the finale, it's the end of WandaVision. Can't believe it's over, the time has just flown. The fact that it's been 9 weeks since we started this journey with these characters in this show is just astounding, and it's just, bittersweet that it's over because we've all clearly enjoyed it on some level, some people more than others. I'm obviously one of the people who absolutely loved it, if you haven't seen all my other videos. But yes, it's the finale, appropriately titled the series finale. And just note that they said series and not season, so we are not getting a season 2 of WandaVision, which is totally fine because I don't think this is something that needs to continue in this format. I think we've told the story that needed to be told and that we can move on with these characters into their next the next phase of their journey. Wanda's going to be in Doctor Strange 2, as is well known. They're filming that right now in London, which is really exciting. That's coming out in exactly a year from now, give or take a week or two. And and then Monica Rambeau obviously is going to be in Captain Marvel 2, which was already announced, but we got a nice little tease of that at the end of this. So yeah, there's I don't know, I have a lot of interesting thoughts about the finale, which I'll get into now because, one of the big takeaways I kind of felt, the consensus for me was every other episode of WandaVision seemed to really be more of, here's us doing something different, here's us being unique, here's us kind of, exploring characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe like we've never been able to before. And this is a TV show none of us have really ever seen before either. And that's beautiful and wonderful, in a world of so many remakes and reboots and sequels and all of that, to get something, original in a sense, even though it is featuring characters who have previously appeared in other things. It's just so refreshing, and a beautiful, I don't know, it restores hope for me in storytelling and filmmaking and TV making and all of that stuff, which is great. However, the final episode for me really just was the only one that felt like something completely different from the rest. This was our cliched, typical final boss battle between the good guy and the bad guy. Lots of CGI everywhere. So a lot of it, the first 2/3 of it, where all the action was taking place, just really felt like, and it was cool because it felt cinematic. It felt like I was in a cinema watching it, even though I was at home, watching it on my television. It had that kind of cinematic thing about it, which was nice. But at the same time, it was stuff we've seen before, just with a new skin, and especially because it's, this episode featured, the hero fighting the dark version of themselves, essentially, and same with so Wanda and Agnes paralleling each other, and you've got Vision or Hex Vision and White Vision paralleling each other and fighting each other, so you've got that, and that's, those are tropes that have been done a lot as well in other things, especially in the MCU. So there's certain things about it that were just unoriginal for a show that has just been nothing but original for me. And that actually disappointed me a little. If I'm looking at it with a critical eye, I have to say I was slightly disappointed. And I kind of also blame that on just the fact that we as a collective audience and fan base of this thing really overhyped it, really kind of built it up to be this, it was going to be blow our heads off kind of thing. This whole show is filled with so many cool things, and for me the Pietro, Ralph, I'll get to that later, whole thing, that reveal was the big for me, the biggest reveal in this whole thing, because that was the only one that literally made me jump out of my seat. And so this finale, because they'd done that halfway through the run, I was like, okay, this finale is there's gonna be something like that. And because there'd been, teasers and talks of epic cameos coming in this episode, everyone thought Doctor Strange was gonna rock up. People thought Reed Richards maybe somehow was going to emerge. Mephisto was going to emerge, and I thought maybe Loki would show up because there's a loose connection between Nexus beings and the TVA, but, none of that happened. None of it happened. And look, that's fine. We shouldn't expect a show like this to rely on using other characters from other things and other stories to make it worth watching and make it good. So I'm okay with it. I'm just annoyed that we all kind of, made ourselves believe we were going to get something like that. And Paul Bettany did not help. Trolling us all with his little... it's an actor I've always wanted to work with. I'm really excited and I have great respect and trust in his body of work and all this stuff. And then he even said that he was interviewed after the finale and said that he was referring to himself, and he was just having a laugh with us. And, I love that. I think it's great. I think it's very funny. I'm all here for lame dad jokes. Like, that's fantastic. But at the same time, I bet a lot more people out there are pissed off, more than having a laugh like I am. Part of me is disappointed, but I'm not angry or anything. I don't hold any ill will towards Paul Bettany or anyone involved in this. So, but that aside, that being said, getting into the episode proper, the fangirl in me really just loved this, the whole thing. I mean, I live for these movies and now these TV shows, and they, it didn't disappoint in terms of wrapping up, I think, Wanda's arc through this season. I mean, yes, it wasn't exactly as, I guess, smooth as I expected it to be, but it was still on a similar track to what I expected, so I was okay with it. But yeah, like the fight scenes, the action was really good. Like Wanda and Agatha battling it out was really, really awesome. I liked the fact that I think I may have guessed in last week's video, or at least it was something that I'd read. People were theorizing that Agatha's whole deal was the fact that she wanted Wanda's power, and that's why she was drawn there. I'm pretty sure I did say that last week. But yeah, so that was, kind of no surprise to find out that's her motivation, and the fact that she says that she takes power from the undeserving. So she's just really offended and pissed off that Wanda has the power of the Scarlet Witch, has all this chaos magic, and she's letting it go to waste. Like she even said last week, you're using it to make breakfast for dinner. So she just wants to, now that she knows, she's figured out who Wanda really is, she wants to steal her power, and we start to see that at the beginning of the episode when they initially fight, and then all through up until the climax of their battle. Again, Catherine Hahn was just, I really enjoyed her going full balls to the wall, maniacal laughing villainess in this. That was good. I mean, yeah, cliched, sure, but I don't know, she looked like she was having fun with it, and I was really enjoying watching her and the way she was, obviously trying to manipulate Wanda into, giving up her powers. So, she's like, if you give me your power, I will let you have Westview and your little family, and you can stay here, and it'll be fine. Just give me your power. And of course, she wasn't gonna do that. I mean, when is that? Any villain ever kept their word on anything, really? But yeah, their first battle ended up with a little Wizard of Oz reference, with her empty boots underneath the car, and I like to now refer to Agatha as the Wicked Witch of Westview, because that's what she is. So I thought that was cool. I mean, there's a lot of Wizard of Oz kind of influence and reference in WandaVision, and that, and then the whole on the cinema marquee, Oz the Great and Powerful. Sam Raimi directed that, and he's directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, so that tracks. Very clever little nod there. But yeah, that scene of White Vision arriving and, you know, Wanda clearly just not having any idea what's going on and trying to process it and figure it out. And she thinks it's Vision returned to her at first. Of course she was going to think that, or like, would she think anything else? No. So yeah, she lets her guard down and he takes advantage of that, and just, you can hear, like, they put that sound effect of like her skull fracturing, and I just was like, nope. And then her mouth went all contorted. I was like, nope, this is making me uncomfortable. Yeah, and then Hex Vision arrived to save the day, which was great. And then the two of them spent most of the rest of the episode battling it out, going up against each other. And I really enjoyed watching their fight scenes and how they, you know, can phase in and out of each other and fly around each other. Like, it was just very, very well choreographed and rendered beautifully. Like the whole CGI thing, look, I said earlier, like, you know, it's cliche for a superhero film to have a big CGI thing at the end, but that's fine. At least the CGI here is actually good because they've got Disney money behind them, so I was never really taken out of any kind of moment because of the CGI, whereas in some other superhero films or other big action films, when they do this with CGI at the end of their, you know, stories, they do tend to use lesser quality CGI, but yeah, but at least for my money it looked really good, so I really enjoyed watching the two Visions go at it, as it were. We then got the I guess we got to see Monica again, trapped inside Pietro's man cave, and she discovers that who exactly Pietro is. And cue my least favourite part of the entire episode. I'm sorry. I love puns, I love to laugh, I love jokes, but this was just poor. And the only thing I can possibly explain it away with is the fact that Boner is a reference to a character from another sitcom, Growing Pains. So that's all I can take from that. But when, like, the fact that I kind of liked the fact that Pietro was Pietro, I should point out, was Ralph all along. I thought that made sense. I thought it was kind of cool, and it was kind of, I think, after last week, kind of obvious that Evan Peters' Pietro wasn't actually any kind of multiverse thing going on. Like, I did still have a theory that maybe she plucked him from another universe, but it literally is just, he's a resident of Westview, and she's moved into his house because it's next door to where Wanda is, so she can keep an eye on Wanda and Vision as the nosy neighbour. And she's just, you know, we never saw him because, you know, she only referred to him as Ralph, and she was maybe keeping him prisoner, and then she decided to use him to be Pietro, to get some inside information on Wanda. So, but yeah, the fact that they made his last name Boner, I know it's Bohner, no, and they usually get the humour so good in the MCU, for my money. I always enjoy a lot of the humour they sprinkle through, you know. I mean, yeah, I'm still angry about Fat Thor, and it's been 2 years, but that's neither here nor there right now. But, you know, and especially earlier in WandaVision, the episode 2 with Paul Bettany being spectacular as drunk Vision on stage, and the flourish and everything, like, that was great. I really liked that. But Boner, no, sorry guys, it's a no from me. It's a no from me. I'm okay with the Ralph reveal, but the last name choice, no, I don't endorse that at all. I'm sorry. But anyway, that's okay. So I think after that, I mean, I'm kind of jumping around a bit because everything's just kind of connecting, so this is a rambling video. This is what I do, a ramble. But yes, I should mention the scene where Jimmy Woo gets taken prisoner, I suppose, by Sword. into custody and is, you know, brought to Hayward, and Hayward, you know, evil monologues about how, like, he's going to frame Wanda, and, you know, no one's, because she stopped the transmission, there's no more transmission, no one's going to ever see the footage of the two visions, everyone's going to think that she took his body, and that makes sense, and all of that, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's like, I'm clean getting out of this scot-free, it's going to be fine. And, yeah, and then Jimmy's like, okay, well that's fine, but, you know, I've got FBI guys coming here in an hour and they might have something different to say about that. And that was a nice little bluff from Jimmy, really badass. And then he gets taken away and then escapes and says flourish as he does it, and I lost my shit. I thought that was great. A little callback to Vision from episode 2, and also because it's a magician thing. I really liked that. And then he gets on the phone immediately and is like, can you be here inside the hour? Because, you know, I kind of bluffed and now I need you to, you know, actually come through. So, yeah, so the FBI is on the way, which is great. And, yeah, I've kind of liked Hayward's cheesy line of, if only you had a little more vision. I like that better than the boner joke. And that's not saying much because it's a very bad pun, but I like puns, so I'm a sucker for puns. It's fine. What else do we have? Okay, so the big reveal of what the book was that was in Agatha's basement, essentially. So I kind of guessed it was the Necronomicon, as did a lot of other people, because that's a book from the comics. It would make sense, especially because, you know, Sam Raimi directed Evil Dead and he's directing Doctor Strange, and if the Necronomicon's going to appear, obviously maybe, then yeah, I just kind of liked that connection. I thought that was really cool. But then, yeah, Agatha reveals that's actually the Darkhold. So, as an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, I kind of got a little annoyed. I mean, as cool as it was, but it was just another nail in the coffin of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. not being a part of canon or not being in the main timeline like how I've always wanted it to be. And it was for a while because, you know, in the later seasons when the events of Endgame were unfolding, we were getting direct references to Thanos landing in Wakanda. And Thanos being, and not Thanos being in New York, but, you know, the events in New York of, I forget his bloody name now, it's been so long, but one of Thanos' Black Order guys, the Squidward dude, I'm going to call him Squidward because I'm sorry, I'm shaming myself, but I cannot remember his name. But yeah, they referenced that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that was after they'd already touched on the Darkhold in the Ghost Rider storyline, which I think was 1 or 2 seasons before that. So yeah, I was a little annoyed, not gonna lie. But it's fine, I suppose, in terms of, I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't exactly always connected and always involved, especially once they started time traveling and you know, going to the future and creating alternate realities and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, like they already started exploring the multiverse stuff in S.H.I.E.L.D. anyway. But, yeah, so that, and, because, yeah, the Darkhold here looks nothing like the Darkhold in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't know. I mean, it's fine, it makes sense. I mean, Agatha explains that it's the Book of the Damned, and there's a whole section in there on Scarlet Witch and how powerful she is and how dangerous she is, and that apparently her destiny is to destroy the world, and that, you know, could be a hint at what is to come in Doctor Strange 2, considering given the end credit scene, which we will get to later. But yes. Yeah, and then I think this is probably also hinting at Chthon coming into the MCU now. Sorry, Mephisto. Maybe Mephisto will come in, I don't know. Maybe Chthon won't come in, but the fact that they've chosen to use the Darkhold in the MCU and how they're connecting it to Scarlet Witch does connect back to Chthon, because he basically imbued all of his dark powers and everything into the Darkhold when he created it. It's his book. So, and he was in the comics or in one run, he created Scarlet Witch because she was born near where he was interred or whatever, and so that's how she got her powers in one version of her origin. So there's all these connections there. But that was really cool. Interesting though, because Wanda is just deny. She's like, I'm not who you say I am. I'm not a witch. I don't practice magic. No one ever taught me how to do any of this. I don't know what you're talking about, essentially. And Agatha's just like not having any of that. Which was interesting. And then the whole, this was kind of really dark, a dark moment of the episode, probably the darkest moment, where Agatha actually unlocks all of the residents of Westview and decides to show Wanda exactly what she's doing to them. And Wanda at first believes it's Agatha making them say what they're all saying and acting the way they're all acting, but we know better. We know that Wanda's been in control of them the whole time, and we've seen, through scenes with Vision, unlocking certain characters that we know what's actually going on. And that was really just heartbreaking for Wanda to come to terms with then and there, be forced to face the fact that she thought she had them at peace and they were blissful and happy, subdued, but they were actually in pain, and when they slept every night, they were seeing her nightmares, they were feeling everything she was going through, so they were really being tortured by her, and she was just, devastated to learn that. And then in her kind of grief of hearing that, she unleashed some power upon them because she wanted them to stop, and ended up nearly choking them all to death right then and there, which again is just speaking to the fact of, Wanda not being fully in control of her abilities, or not yet fully grasping how much power she truly has, and that she needs to really keep her emotions in check, otherwise people will get hurt. But that was a very dark moment. Where am I looking at my notes? Okay, so after that, basically, Agatha's still on the whole, you can save them, you can, give me your power and I'll fix everything for you. And so because she's so upset with what she's done, Wanda decides to open the hex and tells them all to run, tells them to get out while they can, because she doesn't want to hurt them anymore. And then there's the cruel twist of fate that she realizes that, and then we realize that the twins are now involved in this, and it was kind of hinted at last week. But yes, because the hex is dissolving, or being broken in parts to let the residents of Westview out, Vision and the twins can no longer exist. They start breaking apart, and Agatha's like, you have to choose, save the people of Westview or save your family. And I guess we assume that most of the residents actually get out before she closes the hex and reforms it. But she can't obviously take the pain of losing her family again, and it's really sad. But this allows the opportunity for Hayward and his goons of S.W.O.R.D. to come in to the hex and try and bring Wanda down. So they arrive on the scene, and the family's okay, they're all reformed, and then we get that really cool kind of assembled shot of them, which was really nice, and kind of makes you think of Incredibles, because there's a similar shot in Incredibles that of them kind of assembled and looking badass and stuff. So that was really cool. And then I really liked the line of dialogue that was Vision says, "Boys, we never prepared you for this." And then Wanda says, "But you were born for it." And it was so epic. I loved it. I loved that line. It was so cool. Another really great line in this show. And then White Vision comes back, and the Visions start fighting once again. Wanda says to the boys, "Take care of the military, Mummy will be right back." And so she goes off to deal with Agatha, and then the boys start dealing with the S.W.O.R.D. agents and having fun with them. It's quite amusing. Now, yeah, and then Monica finally arrives because she ended up finding out that Ralph was being controlled because she used her spectrum or photon powers to see the magic in the necklace that was around him. So she pulled that off and he was freed from Agatha's influence, and so she got away. Arrived at the scene and immediately saved the twins' lives because Haywood, because he's a douchebag, decided to open fire on the boys. And then we learned that that Monica can change her form into light and let the bullets pass through her, saving the boys. You know, I think they disintegrated when they came out the other side. I can't remember now. It's all a blur because I was like, adrenaline's pumping. Oh my god, this is so exciting. And yeah, and then we get to see Billy use his power, and him and Monica have this, you know, cute little exchange of of, you know, nice tricks like yours too. Like, that was really sweet. But yeah, screw Haywood. And then one of the best moments in the episode, nay, the entire series, happens when Haywood gets back in his Hummer and decides to rev up to ram Monica and the boys. And out of nowhere, in her one and only scene, another problem I had with this episode, mind you, her one and only scene, but boy did she make it count, Darcy comes in that that truck that she was in the previous episode and rams Haywood's Hummer, stopping him from attacking Monica and the twins. And then she just says, "Have fun in prison." And I really like that. I thought that was great, and the look on his face, that realization that it was over, and like I was just like, yes, screw you, Haywood. You're gonna get what's coming to you. So that was freaking awesome. Then Vision and, well, Hex Vision and White Vision are fighting, and then they, you know, basically Hex Vision starts asking him questions like, you know, what are you doing, why are you here? And then he's like, my main directive is to destroy the Vision. And then they get into an ethical and kind of, you know, I don't know, existential debate of, you know, what makes either one of them the Vision. And they refer to the ship of Theseus, which is something in identity physics, I think is what they said. But basically it's, you know, if this ship is, you know, if it's rotted away and old and needs restoring, and if you restore it plank by plank, and to the point where none of the original material is remaining, is it still the ship of Theseus? And that's, you know, a reflection on the two visions that we have. I didn't get that. Oh, Siri, go away. Sorry. Yeah, so basically they're just discussing the fact that, you know, neither of them is the real Vision, and yet they both are at the same time, because they are both made of aspects of what made the Vision the Vision. And yeah, and so by that assumption, White Vision is just like, well, I can't kill you then, technically. Like, logic dictates that if you're not the real Vision, then destroying you is not me filling out my main directive. So, you know, so they basically stop fighting, and then Hex Vision says maybe the rot, which I liked. He's like, maybe the rot is the memories, the you know, the worlds that that were touched by Theseus. You know, the things that happen to, you know, that's what makes you a person. That's what makes you who you are, is your life experiences. You know, nature versus nurture, and all of that. So he basically tells us that White Vision's memories, like the real Vision's memories, are somewhere still inside, because he's a synthetic being, and apparently it would be very hard to erase his memories. So he unlocks them, and then White Vision, his eyes, in a really cool shot, his eyes change back to, you know, the real Vision's eyes, and then he says, "I am Vision," and then he flies away, and then that's the last we see of him. So we will be seeing him again at some point, don't know when, it'll all be happening. But, you know, I watched one video that called out the fact that, is he going to kill himself now, because his directive was to destroy the Vision, and now technically he is the Vision. So what does that mean for him going forward? And just on that too, like it's I guess it's good that neither of what I thought was going to happen happened. Like the two options I had was that, you know, White Vision was going to either remain or go, but Hex Vision was definitely going to be gone by the end of this episode. I knew that was going to happen, but whether or not he was going to be put into White Vision to bring Vision back proper, or we were going to be left with no Vision at all by the end of the episode. And I kind of wanted the latter just because I feel like it means more for Wanda's growth as a character and the journey of grief that she's been on, that it would completely undermine all of that character development if you were just going to bring back the source of her grief. Like he was never gone in the first place. Like that's just not the point of the story. And these writers seem to be very good and very switched on, so I would be surprised if they, you know, if they managed to screw this up this badly, but they didn't. What they did instead was, you know, kind of give us Vision back, but not really. And because he left straight away, Wanda doesn't know this. Like, she has no idea that he exists, so she still thinks he's dead. So while it kind of takes away from her grief, we, the audience, know this, but for her, he's gone still. Even though at the end of the episode, they're like, you know, we see, you know, even though we seem to be saying goodbye so much, it stands to reason that we'll say hello again. You know, it's clearly referencing the fact that this White Vision is going to become Vision proper again down the track, and so maybe eventually, you know, her grief will be taken away because she'll have him back, but I don't know, I guess we'll find out. I just don't want them to, I kind of wanted them to just have no Vision at all. As much as I want to keep Vision around, keep Paul Bettany around, because he's amazing, and Vision's such a cool character. Just for Wanda's story, he needs to be gone. So I'm kind of glad we had that whole goodbye sequence of her and Hex Vision at the end. That was very important, and so I'm glad they didn't take anything away from that for me. What else can I talk about? Oh yeah, okay, so Wanda uses that cool mind control thing that she used on all the Avengers in Age of Ultron, and I love that, like, kind of freaky super speed thing and like hands, and yeah, I love how creepy it is and how cool it is. And then we get back to the scene of the crime where Agatha destroyed her coven and her mother, and Wanda is trying to use this against Agatha to say, you know, she's basically admitting, I did what I did, but I didn't mean to do it. You did all of this on purpose. And then, you know, all the corpses kind of reanimate and start to come for Agatha, but then Agatha takes control back in this, you know, Vision space, I suppose. And, and then the dead witches turn on Wanda and call her the Scarlet Witch and a harbinger of chaos and all of this stuff. And then Agatha's just like, give me your power. She's like, give me your bloody power already. I just want it so I can get on with my life and leave you behind. And then Wanda, you know, is a clever cookie, and devises a plan on the spot, which I, you know, didn't think about the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, this feels a bit better. It flows a bit better, because the first time, you know, they come out of the Vision and then they go up there into the sky and they start fighting, and Wanda starts giving her power, basically, and hurling all these blasts of red magic at her. And she was missing every kind of second or third blast, and it was hitting the wall of the hex. And I didn't think anything of that the first time I watched it, but in hindsight, watching it the second time, I was like, oh, okay, all right, that's how she was casting the runes, because it's revealed at the point of, you know, Wanda's near death or so, we think that Agatha's taken all of her power, and then it turns out that clearly that was not the case, and she just tricked Agatha into thinking that, because all of the decomposition of her power being sucked out of her fades away, and then the runes on the walls of the hex, these gigantic runes, are revealed, and then she quotes her own line back to her saying, you know, only the witch who, you know, who casts the runes in any given space can use her magic. So that was really clever. And part of me is like, well, I mean, that's a bit convenient because, you know, she only learnt that hours before. But she does seem to be a quick study in terms of her magic, and the fact that probably everything that Agatha was saying to her and teaching her, showing her, was sinking in. She was taking it on board, and because she's so powerful, she can just, you know, figure out how to do it. So then she says, thanks for the lesson, but I don't need you to tell me who I am. And then we get the big reveal, the huge unveiling, the huge power being sucked back in to Wanda from Agatha. And I think she takes Agatha's magic with her and transforms into the fully realised Scarlet Witch in the MCU. And what a moment. What an outfit. What a look. I'm so pleased with it. It looks amazing. Just everything from the crown, the headpiece looks gorgeous, to the rest of the entire costume. It was just brilliant, and yeah, she looks amazing. Finally, comic book outfit realised in the MCU, so that was super cool to see. And Agatha realises it's all over from there, and is begging Wanda to not, kill her, essentially. She's like, what does she say? You have no idea what you've unleashed. And maybe methinks that's a reference to Chthon or Mephisto, whoever's involved with the Darkhold and connected to Scarlet Witch's powers. Probably more likely Chthon, so that's, I guess we'll see going forward into Doctor Strange 2 next year, if that's right or wrong. And then Wanda decides, I had a feeling she wasn't going to kill her. Hayward and Agatha are going to get out of this alive. But, imprisoned in some form, clearly, because Hayward's off to prison now, and Agatha is now trapped in the role she chose, says Wanda, as the nosy neighbour, and Wanda uses her magic to transform Agatha back into Agnes, and she will be living out her days in Westview under Wanda's power, and yeah, that was really awesome. And good too, because, Wanda was hinting that, and I figured if they weren't going to kill Agatha, we were going to see her again, and she's basically hinting that, she's like, I know where you are, I'll come back if I ever need anything from you, we'll see each other again, etc. So we're definitely going to be seeing Agatha down the track. Whether that's going to be in Doctor Strange, who knows? It might be later, further on. I don't know, we'll find out. But yeah, I'm glad that she's still there, and all the residents of Westview are freed, and by the time the episode's done as well, which is, except for Agnes, which is good. Now, the feels start to come in because Hex Vision realizes that Wanda needs to fix everything, but not for them. So they go home, put the boys to bed, have this beautiful exchange about how they're proud of them and what they accomplished today by helping them stop the sword agents and everything, their part in the battle that they played. And then, and then they say goodbye, and it's, really emotional. This is where I started tearing up, because, Wanda's like, remember, family is forever, and we could never truly leave each other, which is, again, probably hinting at the post-credit scene. So we'll probably be seeing Billy and Tommy again down the track, that's for sure. And then she finishes it with, thanks for choosing me as your mum, choosing me to be your mum. That was really, really nice and emotional. And then we go downstairs, and Wanda's turning off all the lights because the hex is receding, because it's ending, and they don't have much time. So she's turning off the lights because it's the end and the house is about to disappear. But then Vision turns one of them back on, and she goes, I wanted to see you clearly. And then Wanda's like, and Vision says, and there you are. And god damn it, poor Bettany, just crushing it, so good. And then the hex just keeps, you can see it advancing and advancing, and Vision asks Wanda, you know, before I go, I need to know, what am I? And Wanda basically tells us what we kind of guessed after last week, that Vision is the part of the Mind Stone that resides within her, which also stands to reason that he could come back at some point, because there's a part of him always within her, so they'll always be together in some form. And then she goes on to say that you are my sadness, you are my hope, but mostly you are just my love, and I'm just I'm bawling by this point. Yeah, it was rough. And then Vision says a really cool quote about, he's like, I was a voice without a body but not human, and now memory made real, who knows what I will be next. Which I thought was really a nice kind of hopeful little thing, even though I'm like, yeah, undermining grief, blah blah blah, but you know, it was still kind of nice to hear that, because you know, he then says, you know, we've said goodbye, we have to say goodbye to each other, and we've said goodbye to each other so often, it stands to reason. And then Wanda says, we'll say hello again, and I just lost it, because then the hex comes and everything breaks down, and this really cool sweeping panning shot, and then Vision says, so long darling, and then he's gone, and then it's revealed that Wanda's standing in the empty lot, looking exact same as when she, you know, first started the hex and everything. And then I just, yeah, the feels were hardcore at that point. Yeah, it was really, really powerful. She walks back through Westview and then confronts Monica, sees all the people of Westview staring deathly at her. You know, they're obviously very upset, very traumatized, hateful even. And, you know, Wanda kind of understands that, even though Monica's like, you know, they'll never understand what you sacrificed for them. And she's like, well, they're still going to see me. It's not going to change how they see me. So, yeah, and they have a nice little exchange about, you know, because Wanda's like, I hope you don't hate me, basically. And she's like, well, given your situation, your power, I would have brought my mum back. So, and then Wanda leaves Westview and transforms back into her Scarlet Witch outfit, flies out of the city, looks back one last time, and then looks forward to her future. And we cut to credits. I got a bit emotional during that, where she was looking back at Westview. I'm like, oh god, you know, it's where she was, you know, got to be happy again for the even though it wasn't in the most healthy of ways, she got to be happy again, and with Vision for a brief time. So that was emotional. First post-credit scene, I knew we were going to get to. I'm like, okay, the end of every MCU movie, almost at the end of every one, we get a mid-credit scene, then we get a post-credit scene. So I was not disappointed or surprised to see that we got two. First one is, you know, Jimmy in command, Monica being impressed with that, finding out that Darcy already left Westview. Apparently debriefings are for the week, according to her, which I thought was funny. Although I really would have liked to have seen more of her in this episode. Again, disappointed about that, but doesn't hamper the overall experience. And then a random FBI agent confronts Monica and says, we need you in the theatre. She transforms back into a Skrull, because this is where I thought I was going to get either Doctor Strange or Loki reveal. I'm like, something's going to be revealed here. What is it? She transforms into a Skrull, says that I've been sent by a friend of your mother's, and you know, that's. I thought at first it was a reference to Talos, but it's got to be a reference to Nick Fury, who's heard that she's been grounded, and wants her to come up, and points up to the sky, and Monica's just, you know, you see the just kind of the first glimpses of joy on her face as she realizes she's going to space, and she's maybe going to see Carol again, she's going to see Nick Fury again. Like, yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. And then, yeah, finally our last credit scene, the end of WandaVision, sees Wanda out in this remote, gorgeous, stunning location, surrounded by mountains in this cabin, and there are first I was like, is it two versions of her? But then afterwards I realized no, she's astral projecting. So if you think back to Doctor Strange 1, there's a scene where Doctor Strange is asleep, but there's his astral form sitting at the end of the bed reading. And so we see this reveal of Wanda's making tea out in the kitchen, but then we go into like this bedroom or study and see her as Scarlet Witch reading the Darkhold in an astral form. So that was super cool to see. And then she starts to hear the voices of her twins, Billy and Tommy, and we cut to black. And that's our lead into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because I guess she's hearing, because she's a Nexus being, she's tapped into all realities, I'd imagine by this point. And she's probably learning that through the Darkhold. And so she's hearing her boys in distress in some alternate dimension where they exist. And so she's, going to try and help them or get them back or something like that. So, yeah, very interesting stuff. I'm guessing Wanda's probably going to be more of a villain going forward or at least in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because, we saw elements of darkness here in Westview in WandaVision, but, she didn't mean to do any of that, but we know what she's capable of. And now that she's the fully realized Scarlet Witch and she's reading the Darkhold, which is the Book of the Damned, it's imbued with evil, it could only end badly for her. So... yeah, I don't know, I feel like Doctor Strange is going to find out what she's up to, and or they're going to be working together in some capacity, and with Wanda having ulterior motives and Doctor Strange ending up having to stop her, and I don't know, we'll see what happens, but we have to wait a year now, which is very sad. But hey, we've done it before, between Infinity War and Endgame, the longest year ever, so we can do it again, that's for sure. Yeah, so that's WandaVision. It's done. Loved it. Brilliant. Even like that little Doctor Strange score. I don't know if anyone noticed that at the end when we saw the astral form of Scarlet Witch, the score for Doctor Strange was going over it. Gorgeous. But yeah, I love the show. It was brilliant. Exceeded all my expectations. Just gorgeous, beautiful, a lovely character study. It's incredible journey for Wanda Maximoff, and the fact that she's now fully Scarlet Witch is just brilliant. I can't wait to see her in action in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So that's all of my WandaVision videos done. All my thoughts are out there in the world. Please comment below if you have any theories and thoughts, reviews you want to share with me. Sorry that I waffled on so long in this video. I can't help it. That's why this is called Non-Scripted Ramblings, if you haven't figured that out by now. But I do appreciate each and every one of you that's taken the time to watch. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, because in 2 weeks, Falcon and the Winter Soldier kicks off, and I will be back, of course, for more weekly reviews and rambles, because I cannot wait to sink my teeth into that. That's going to be very exciting. So yes, thank you again so much for watching. You guys are awesome. Like, share, subscribe to Fred the Alien so you can keep up to date with all of our stuff we put out and all of my rambling videos, and get ready for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Alright, that's it. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I've been Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced Non-Scripted Ramblings.